Okay, it's fine. So this first worksheet that we're going to be looking at is the number 4 diagram. And basically, we're going to be looking at structures in the brain and where hormones are produced and where they go in the body to function, right? Okay. So this first structure is the hypothalamus, and this is in the brain, and this is your pituitary gland. This first page is completely done for you. You know, you don't have to, you don't have to do anything to it. It's there, that's the model. So this first portion is the hypothalamus. It's in your brain, and we're looking at ADH, antidiuretic hormone, and vasopressin. So a trigger to this. This is something that causes the reaction to happen. A trigger is the increase in electrolyte concentration and the decrease in blood volume and blood pressure. And you can see it in the box right up here.
Does that be both, or could it be one or the other?
It could be one or the other, or both, or a combination. Usually when you have an increase in electrolyte concentration, you usually have a decrease in blood volume.
Okay.
So, I mean, that happens. And this goes to your posterior pituitary gland. So, in your posterior pituitary gland, your glands don't turn into anything else. It just goes from ADH, vasopressin. It's stored in your posterior pituitary gland, and then your posterior pituitary gland produces it. So this is the sequence. It goes from the gland, hormone, gland, hormone.
Question.
Yeah.
Because like in the lecture, we was talking about the alcohol. The alcohol just inhibits ADH. That means like when you drink more alcohol, like you will decrease, like you will
drink more what?
Alcohol.
Oh yeah, because alcohol it'll go to your brain and it will mess up. So your ADH, you won't be producing any ADH. So if you don't produce ADH, you're not retaining water, and so you're just be peeing and peeing and peeing and peeing. Because ADH is anti-diuretic hormone. A diuretic is something that makes you pee. Anti in Latin means against. So it is against peeing. But when you drink alcohol, you're not able to produce ADH. So if you're not able to produce ADH, you can't retain water because you're just peeing and peeing and peeing. And that's actually what a hangover is when you get so dehydrated because you're just flushing all the fluid down.
So how about blood pressure? The blood pressure, is that what go decrease that?
Yeah, if you
Drink too much alcohol, will you decrease your blood pressure?
Oh, for sure, yeah, because blood pressure means like the water content in your body. When you have water content, you have blood pressure. No water, no blood pressure.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay.
Because if you think about a balloon, right? Pressure is how much it's full with it, or how full it is. But if you take all the water out, you don't have any pressure. There's no tension.
Oh, okay.
Does that kind of make sense?
It is, definitely, because I think there's a gap between it. I think I want to ask. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Is that everything?
Yes.
Okay. Good, thank you. So the outcome, so the trigger is an increased electrolyte concentration, you know. Another trigger would be the decrease in blood volume and blood pressure. Your hypothalamus produces ADH, also known as vasopressin. Up here, vasopressin ADH goes to your posterior pituitary gland. So if you see that one is X'd out, this one is circled. Posterior pituitary gland stores ADH, vasopressin, secretes it. This will then go to your kidneys and your blood network. That blood network is mainly in your kidneys. And the effects of ADH is to decrease electrolyte concentrations. So it's causing you to hold on to water, and when you hold on to water, it dilutes. So it's not as concentrated, it's not as salty as your body once was. So it retains it in your kidneys, and it will decrease the concentration of electrolytes. And it will also increase blood pressure. The more water you have, the higher your blood pressure will be. So that's the first one. The next one we're going to go over is oxytocin. Oh, and another thing too. If you look at, oh, that's the wrong one. thing too, if you see over here, there's a negative, it's because it's a negative feedback loop.
Okay.
If you have a lot of ADH, this will shut off. The feedback loop is kind of like a thermostat, you might know that. The higher the heat is, your thermostat will turn off, like the thermostat in your house, if you have controls temperature. But when the ADH goes down, then your thermostat will kick back on when the temperature is down. And the thermostat's like your hypothalamus, that's the main control. So, just that. With oxytocin though, it is unique because it has a positive feedback loop. So with oxytocin, the trigger for it up here in the box is when the uterus, the vagina stretches, and this happens when
Baby.
when you have a baby coming out of you.
Yeah.
Or if you're a guy out of your significant other. Another release of oxytocin that's lesser known is when you're breastfeeding and the baby's suckling on the nipple. So your hypothalamus will be like, okay, you're having a baby, that's the trigger. Your hypothalamus will kind of think about it, it's the brain. Your hypothalamus will then secrete oxytocin, and oxytocin will go to the posterior pituitary gland where it will be stored. Posterior pituitary gland will then secrete oxytocin, and oxytocin will go to 3 parts of the body. It is primarily known to go to the female's uterus because you're trying to push the baby out, so your uterus will contract. Okay? And then it will continue to increase the uterine contractions the more oxytocin you have because it's a positive feedback loop. It will not stop till the stimulus is removed. In other words, oxytocin will not stop until the baby's out of the system. Yeah. So this is the most known. Typically, if you get a test question about oxytocin, uterine contractions, this one's what it'll be over. These are more kind of for fun, but it still exists. In the male, it stimulates smooth muscle contraction in the prostate gland. So it causes your prostate to contract, and that's during sexual stimulation. And this enhances the movement of sperm. Another thing too is between couples, they can have oxytocin. They can build up the oxytocin. And that's what actually forms like relationships and everything, is the more oxytocin, which is really interesting.
Okay.
So that's kind of like a love, and another thing too with having the baby, it's the connection the mother makes with the baby. That bond is with the oxytocin. So that's interesting. Another lesser known one is, but still there, oxytocin helps with milk letdown, so the baby suckles on the nipple, and that causes you to breastfeed. Yeah. And this also has to do with, forming a bond with your baby with oxytocin so you can breastfeed. That's why a bond is formed, so your body knows, hey, I need to feed the baby. And typically, this is another positive feedback loop, okay? Your oxytocin will be produced, you'll produce more milk, and that will continue until the baby stops feeding, and then that will stop. So, and letdown is just like when it's able to come out. Prolactin, though, prolactin is what produces the milk. This one helps with just letting it down. So, any questions on this one?
No.
Good. Okay. The next hormone. So for this one, we're going to be looking at the triggers, looking at the hormone the hypothalamus secretes. And in particular, with the first two, they all go to the posterior pituitary gland, the posterior one, okay? This one, they'll all go to the anterior pituitary gland. That's very important because the posterior pituitary gland, the one in the back posterior, is more like neural control with your nerves. Well, the anterior one is the one that actually produces hormones. Yeah, they both secrete hormones, but the anterior one actually makes it new. So see how in the first one it went oxytocin, pituitary gland, oxytocin. And this one goes from a hormone anterior pituitary to a different hormone. So that's the main difference. It's kind of like your hypothalamus, Stockholm is like Walmart. This hormone is like the flour, the chocolate chips, those kinds of things, anterior pituitary gland, like the
Cookies.
bakery. Yeah, and then you make something out of it. So the hypothalamus gives stuff to the anterior to make stuff with, and it produces something new. So that's the main difference. So that's why it's kind of important to know which gland is all we're coming from. So this one is, what is this? This one has to do with cortisol. And what is cortisol? What do you know about cortisol?
Cortisol is formation of glucose, and like they also like increase like they let the protein and the fat release and get the nutrient in the blood.
Right. And why does that happen?
Because like the genetics says like you need more glucose for a brain, and like that's why they just cannot use glucose for other body when you have exercise or you have something really important to do. Because glucose is really important for like the energy, all the energy, like for like ATP or all the things, like it's easy to break down, and but like cortisol just inhibit and break down.
Yeah.
Don't let it break down.
Yeah. So cortisol increases this, right? That is the result of cortisol. That's what cortisol does. But why? Do you know why it does this?
I think stress.
Stress.
Okay.
Yeah. Stress stress is a trigger. So the first box up at the top. Wait, what you were saying was right. That was right. You're on the right track. But the trigger, that should say stress. But the trigger to this is decreased cortisol in the body, because you always need a regular amount, right, in order to have this glucose and fat and everything in your body regular. You always need a regular amount. But another trigger that I did not put in this box is stress.
Okay.
And the idea behind it is being starvation, that's stress on your body. So when your body's stressed out, it secretes cortisol, and cortisol, instead of breaking stuff down, it causes you to produce more and have more in your body.
Okay.
So when you're starving, you live. Yeah. And that can also give you energy to go like hunting or like chasing other things too. So how cortisol is all produced, it is a negative feedback loop. So the more you have, it'll shut down. So cortisol originally starts out in the hypothalamus as corticotropin releasing hormone. This is known as CRH. You can see is the arrows. The arrows, I explained this earlier, the arrows are hormones, but the pictures are just the glands. So this will go to your anterior pituitary gland. Your anterior pituitary will then make adrenocorticotropin hormone, also known as ACTH. Okay, good? Adrenocorticotropin hormone will then go to the adrenal glands that sit right on top of your kidneys. So that's what this is, the adrenal cortex. So your kidneys, I don't know, I gotta check it. Okay, so that's not that. I just making sure the markers are thick enough. So your cortex, where is the cortex?
Adrenal cortex.
Your adrenal cortex, yeah. But so you have your adrenal gland, you have the outside, you have the inside.
The inside is medulla, outside is cortex.
Yeah. So the cortex is the outside.
Yeah.
Yep. Right. So adrenal cortex, there we go. And your adrenal cortex will then produce cortisol. Cortisol will go to your overall body. And the outcome is glucose metabolism, like you said earlier. You'll have a stress response. You'll start, retaining fat. That's why, some people, like, they go into, like, nursing school and they'll be like, I gained weight from school, because they were stressed out.
Okay.
Or they were just eating a little bit too much. I'm the one. I'm guilty of that, right? When we get stressed, we eat more.
You don't eat more, definitely.
Yeah.
I did.
Another outcome is cortisol suppresses the immune system. So when you're stressed, right, your body can't afford to get sick. You can't have that reaction. You can still have a disease, but you won't have a fever, you won't have inflammation, because cortisol released when you have stress, and that will suppress your immune system. It'll tell your immune system, stop working just for now. This is why, so when you're really stressed in school, and then for me at least, right after finals week, right after when school's over, I get really sick. Because I might have been sick when I was in clinicals or nursing school or going through that, but in the moment I didn't have that stress, my cortisol went down, my immune system was then able to react, and then I got sick.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. So it suppresses the immune system. It also decreases inflammation, because inflammation is an immune response. So, yeah. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Any questions over cortisol?
It's anterior pituitary. Okay.
Yeah. The only ones that are posterior pituitary, oxytocin and ADH. So thinking about the ADH is like with the alcohol. So the one with the alcohol, situation goes to the posterior pituitary, and the one with the baby coming out, birth, anterior or posterior pituitary. But alcohol and baby don't do that. That shouldn't be a thing. So I guess that's how a good way you can remember it, right? I don't know. Don't drink while you're pregnant. I don't know. Even though it's actually pretty serious.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah. So this is now the thyroid hormone. It also goes to the anterior pituitary. So you can see the hormone will change into something else. So what does the thyroid hormone do? What do you know about the thyroid?
Because I know its target is on thyroid gland, and less thyroid gland to produce the T3 and T4, sorry.
And what do T3 and T4 do?
T3 and T4 do,
Yeah.
What do they do?
I think about oxygen and, usage of oxygen, that's
The
why.
thyroid stimulating hormone.
Does anyone want to play me? No, I'm kidding. Okay. It's,
Metabolism? Yeah, no, that's what I think it looks like, something like that.
yeah, metabolism. Yeah. So T3 and T4 help with metabolism. So when do we need so you hear teenagers have a higher metabolism, they eat more, they sleep more, they're grouchy more often, they have mood swings, they're all over the place. It's because of the thyroid. So a trigger to the thyroid hormone to start working is puberty. Because you have all these bodily changes, and then all of a sudden it's like, puberty, okay, you're going to go nuts. Your body is like wanting to eat more, sleep more, and do other things. But anyway, so your hypothalamus will secrete thyrotropin releasing hormone, also known as TRH. TRH will go to the anterior pituitary. Anterior pituitary gland will secrete thyroid releasing hormone. Thyroid stimulating hormone, because it will stimulate the thyroid. I wish I didn't have to scroll. I wish this was bigger. I wish I could get that bigger. And so this is going to go to your thyroid gland. Your thyroid gland will then secrete T3 and T4, like you were saying, which will help with cellular metabolism. So the outcome of the thyroid hormone is to increase the metabolic rate, the growth, and the oxygen usage in the cells, right? Because your cells eat oxygen. Oxygen helps them grow, essentially. So this is just, you don't need to memorize this. It's just Krebs cycle. This is like the metabolism that happens in the cell. It's just something, a picture I had to represent it with. That would help you remember it. It's cellular metabolism, and therefore metabolism of us as the organisms we are. Any questions over thyroid? All right. So in the past ones, we had, one hormone coming from the anterior pituitary. These next two pages, I believe, 2 or 3, we're going to have 2 hormones. Okay? And that's just kind of how I split this up. So this next one is, again, triggered by puberty. And it is prolactin hormone. So, just some fun tips. There are two regulatory methods of prolactin. There's prolactin inhibiting hormone. There's a hormone that tells prolactin to stop working. There's prolactin releasing hormone, which tells prolactin more, with a releasing hormone. Prolactin releasing hormone, yeah, I just said that. And another thing too is this is just a fun fact. It won't be on your quiz or anything, but prolactin releasing hormone is practically the same hormone as thyroid releasing hormone. It's just different names. It's the same hormone, different names. And then prolactin inhibiting hormone in the body tells you to stop producing milk, but when it's prolactin inhibiting hormone in your brain, it's actually dopamine. It's just a fun fact. I mean, I don't know. If you read about it, I mean, that's just where it's coming from. But now that we're focusing on the body, your hypothalamus will produce either prolactin inhibiting hormone or prolactin releasing hormone. This will go to your anterior pituitary gland. Anterior pituitary gland will then make prolactin, or it will stop making prolactin, depending on which of ones. This is another positive feedback loop. So, So this is a mammary gland, and in females, it promotes mammary gland development, right? Because when you go through puberty, you know, your boobs get bigger, or your mammary glands get bigger, to say it more politely. It helps with the development, and it helps with milk production during childbirth. So, when you think about prolactin, think about prolactin. So to lactate means to secrete milk, right? Think about promote. So prolactin is promoting milk, promoting lactation. Does this make sense?
Yeah, I just asked something that's not relevant to because lactate is because some people they cannot digest the lactate.
Lactose, which is a milk sugar.
Oh, okay. So is that related or?
It's the same. So prolactin, it does. It comes from the Greek word lact, which means milk. So prolactin is the hormone. And then lactose is the milk
Sugar.
Yep. So lact means milk, and ose means actually sugar, by the way. But yeah, you're on the right track. So when I think prolactin, lactose, sugar. Yeah. So that's where it's just how the word is formed. So have you taken medical terminology?
I hope so. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. See, that would have, but that's just a medical term. Yep. But good connection. We are just zooming through this. All right. So, just like with prolactin, it had inhibiting and releasing hormones. So this one's going to have two as well. This has to do with growth hormone. So again, a trigger is puberty, right? Because when kids hit the growth spurt, they just shoot up. My brother was probably up to my, shoulder for the longest time, and right when he hit puberty, he was 6 foot something. So I mean, I'm the shortest one in my family now. So I used to pick on him, but not anymore, right? He's bigger than me, he can beat me up. Anyway, so there are two regulatory methods for growth hormone, right? Growth hormone releasing hormone, growth hormone inhibiting hormone. And they actually have two different names. So if you're taking it, so sometimes instructors like to switch up what the names are, but growth hormone inhibiting hormone is also known as somatostatin, SS. And then growth hormone is known as somatotropin, STH. So and the thing is, the reason why, did Janet tell you why they have two different names? author ego. Different authors think you should call it different things. It is their ego.
Okay.
That is why you have to memorize 2 names. But yeah, so let's see if I can get down there all the way. So statin, and then somatotropin. So whenever you see the word tropin, it means to grow.
Okay.
Okay? So somatotropin is the same hormone as growth hormone. Somatostatin, think about like, you know what stagnant means? Stagnate?
Oh, I mean,
It's still, it doesn't
yeah.
do anything.
Yeah,
That's
like-
growth hormone in
Oh,
somatostatin. It's
Okay.
just
like economics.
not moving, yeah.
Yeah.
Stagnant water that's been sitting out like in a jar or in a cup all day smells really bad after a long time. Especially when it's like sitting in the sun and it's you see flies around you. Oh, it's beautiful. So it's not a statin, stagnant water. Does that help? Can I erase this?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and if you go to watch this yourselves, I mean, you can just like pause it. And, I'll give you guys access, because that's why I like taking attendance, so I can get your names, and I'm like, okay, these are people I'll send stuff to.
Okay.
So,
Thanks.
yeah, so make sure you sign in. So basically, your hypothalamus will either secrete growth hormone inhibiting hormone, growth hormone releasing hormone. It'll go to the anterior pituitary gland. Anterior pituitary gland will then secrete growth hormone. What does growth hormone help with?
Everything.
Everything, look, this is the whole body, everything. So growth hormone goes to all body cells, more so the skeletal, the muscle, the chondrocytes, liver, bone, and cartilage, and that's because it helps.
I have a quick question. On, you have a circle around the anterior pituitary, and you have a circle with a line through it on the posterior pituitary?
Yeah.
Is that just meaning that it's not coming from the posterior pituitary?
Yeah, we just X that out,
And it's
yeah.
coming from the anterior? Okay,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, and usually, so in the things, that's actually good, I should have explained that. This means it's not coming to the posterior, it's just that we just get in the habit of
Yeah.
saying anterior. Anterior pituitary gland, if you don't know if it comes from anterior to posterior, most hormones come from the anterior. So, as a testing strategy, just be like, anterior, you know? Unless it's oxytocin or ADH.
Yeah, 90%.
Drinking while pregnant, unless it's one of those hormones, drinking or pregnant, not both. But one of the things in the answers, all body cells, skeletal muscle, chondrocytes, do you guys know what a chondrocyte is?
Sounds familiar, but I know.
What is a cyte?
Cytosine cell.
Okay? And what kind of cells help with growing? What kind of cells need to be developed before you can grow bone?
Protein.
Osteoblasts, osteo...
Those are bone cells, and you're right about the proteins, the type of protein. Or sounds like
Calcium?
close. Bone is made up of calcium.
Keratin, not keratin, cartilage.
Cartilage, yeah.
Cartilage.
Like the stuff in your nose.
Okay.
Usually for yeah.
Little kids have the cartilage. It have like, they have exact name like, it start with like chondro or something. But
Yeah.
it means the like soft cartilage.
Yeah, they have softer cartilage.
And then the osteum, the bone, so they have like the bone bone.
Yeah, so the cartilage
yeah.
has to form first before you form the bone. So chondrocytes have to form first before you can start forming osteocytes, osteoblasts. Basically, cartilage is like, if you look at like making a house, cartilage is like the wooden beams, you know, of a house, that beams, like the wooden.
Like a beam, okay.
Yeah, and then, not beams, sorry.
Yeah, that's a beam.
But the bone portion of it is like the bricks.
Okay.
So you have to have the beams, you have to have the structure before you can form the strength around it. So, yeah, chondrocytes, I think that's from Anatomy 101.
Yeah, I think, yeah,
Bone growth.
Bone growth, yeah.
It will come back. And the outcome, I'm just going to read these off, that it's there, increases protein synthesis, Synthesis means it increases the proteins made in your body, right? Because we're growing, right? Growth hormones, we're growing. We need protein to grow. We need cartilage protein, to grow. Increases amino acid uptake. Amino acids make protein. Increasing the rate of mitosis. Mitosis is just how, like, when cells grow and then they divide and they multiply, right? Because we're growing, we need more cells. We're not little people anymore, right? Increases the size of cells, and it also increases fat breakdown. So this is why, like, some kids
Get skinnier and
when they grow, they slim down because of their growth hormone. And then it also increases blood sugar because, like you were saying earlier, sugar goes to your brain and it causes you to have energy, ATP. So overall, growth hormone promotes lean body mass. It makes bone longer, and it promotes cartilage growth. So that is that. The next page is over the reproductive system. So it all derives, what starts this? Puberty. Here we go.
Magic word.
There you go, most of this is. So that's why people who are going through puberty have mood swings, right? It's because all their hormones are like, whoop, whoop, especially with the reproductive. So on this side, same process is happening, same hormone. On this side is the males, on this side is the females. Okay? So they're all going through the same hormone, but in the male this will happen, in the female this will happen. So a trigger in the male puberty promotes or stimulates the production of gonadotropin releasing hormone. So gonadotropin see that. Got it in the captain. Okay. So tropin, right, means growth, right? Or to grow. Gonad, what is a gonad?
Some kind of sex.
Sex organ? Yeah. So the one with the GN, gonada, that means sex organ. This is kind of gross, but one time I was in high school and I was dissecting a squid, just a baby squid, like a smaller squid, and I was looking for the gonads, like where were the sex organs, because I couldn't find them, and it turned out that when I was looking, I was actually scrambling them. So when I think of scrambled gonads, I think of scrambled eggs, and eggs are like a sex cell. So I don't know why that makes sense, but I just think about scrambling my squid gonads. But by accident, I couldn't find them because I was messing them up.
Yeah, it was tiny actually. They're so tiny, right?
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's just like, where are they? While you're moving stuff around, you're actually. Anyway, so that's just how I remember it. Scrambling the squid's gonads, scrambling their sex organs. Poor squid, right?
They died anyway.
They died anyway. Yeah, there you go. That doesn't really help my conscience, but. So yeah, you have gonadotropin releasing hormone stimulated from puberty, goes to the anterior pituitary. That's why, as you were saying, it's circled, close to your pituitary, it's X'd out because you don't want to look at that, just focusing on the anterior. In the male, the anterior pituitary gland will secrete the follicle stimulating hormone and the interstitial cell stimulating hormone. So a follicle, what is a follicle?
Cell, I think. I remember it's like a cell.
Like a follicle of your hair, right? Follicle, follicle means cell, okay. But in this case, we're talking about sex organs. So sex organs have what kind of cells?
Sex cells.
Sex cells, yeah. So whenever you hear the word follicle, think about sex cells. Okay. Follicle stimulating hormone. Okay. Follicle stimulating hormone. It is the hormone that stimulates your follicles in both the female and the male. So in the male, it stimulates sperm production, but in the female, it stimulates the egg production. So That's just a way to, at that stage, follicle stimulating hormone. That's just a way to just remember it. If you see the F, it's talking about sex cells. The cells though, not the testosterone, not the estrogen, the cell. The cell. On the other hand, interstitial cell stimulating hormone, and it's called this in the male, but it can also be called luteinizing hormone in the female. It depends on what instructor you use. Let's do that. Interstitial cell ICSH. So,
Oh, we get it. We know what you're talking about.
yeah. So interstitial, that's the first word. Inter means between in Latin, or medical term. Stitial, I think about stitial as tissue. It kind of sounds stitial, tissue. It has that kind of, I don't know, longness to it. So this hormone, interstitial cell stimulating hormone, will stimulate the cells between the tissues, right? And this will usually cause you to produce, in a male, it will cause him to produce testosterone. So this interstitial cell stimulating hormone will cause testosterone. I can never spell while I'm up here. So that one is for it. In the female, this is called luteinizing hormone. Sometimes if it's talking about a male and it's talking about luteinizing hormone, it's talking about this one. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just making sure I caught this. Yeah, okay. I'm just making sure the red came up. This is the first time I'm using this sound or visual. So that's that for this. Interstitial cell stimulating hormone causes the release of testosterone to increase. In the female, you also have follicle stimulating hormone. Okay, follicle stimulating hormone stimulates the egg in the female. Female also produces luteinizing hormone. And, let me scroll down to you. Okay, so luteinizing hormone. So maturation of sperm cells, this is follicle stimulating hormone. Production of testosterone is interstitial cell stimulating hormone. In the female, follicle stimulating hormone is responsible for the growth and development of the ovarian follicles, which are the egg cells. While these last three are caused by luteinizing hormone. When estrogen is produced, ovulation is with luteinizing hormone. Corpus luteum formation, right? Luteinizing hormone, corpus luteum formation. And also it causes the walls of your uterus to thicken when you have your period and everything. So that is, those last three are luteinizing hormone. These next pages with the testicle and the ovary and uterus, we won't cover these too much. What we just went over is all you need to know.
Okay.
But I'll send this answer stuff out to you, so
Okay.
you'll have it. But when we get into the reproductive system, we're going to really, revisit. But I'm just putting it here for the extra
Okay.
practice.
Okay.
This next part, so there's the uterus and ovaries. This next part is a feedback loop. So it's just a little bit of a different way of looking at it. The process is still the same. Okay, you have a trigger. Your hypothalamus will secrete a hormone. The hormone will go to posterior pituitary, or the anterior or posterior pituitary gland, usually the anterior. Then the anterior will produce another hormone. That other hormone will then go to a gland or an organ. The process is still the same, but this is just a way to organize this. So basically, we're looking at, whenever we look at a hormone, we're mostly concerned with the blood. What is happening in the blood? That is your first starting point. So normal blood pressure. Normal blood pressure stimulates the production, what stimulates Okay, so as you can see, the arrows go up here, which
Yeah.
means it's going, blood pressure's going up, and right, we want to bring blood pressure back down. Same with here, blood pressure is dropping, and we want to bring blood pressure back up again. So that's kind of the idea with the circles. So you have normal blood pressure. The stimulus is when blood pressure elevates. So just say you eat something really salty, right, or you drink a lot of fluid, your blood pressure is going to shoot right up. It's going to go up.
Yeah.
Excess fluid, so the next box. Excess fluid in the heart causes overstretching of the fibers. So your heart is like a balloon. It's like blown up. It's like, whoa, way too much fluid. And this will cause the release of atrial natriuretic peptide. Or, no, this is called a hormone here. And the thing with atrial natriuretic hormone, okay? Atria, like the atria of the heart. Natriuretic, you're taking chemistry, what is Na plus?
Sodium, right?
Yeah, sodium. So Na plus is sodium, and this is the hormone. So this is the hormone that decreases sodium in the body. So it causes you to get rid of sodium. Because when you get rid of sodium, your water, you also get rid of your water. And then right, when you decrease the amount of water, what else goes?
Pressure goes down.
Pressure goes down, right. So in this next box, atrial natriuretic hormone increases the excretion of sodium in the urine, and the result is blood pressure is now decreased, and now it's normal again, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Ready for the next one?
Mhm.
Okay. You guys are on it. All right. Okay. So we have normal blood pressure. I'm just going to scroll down one. Okay. Normal blood pressure. Then suddenly blood pressure drops. Just say you like sever a leg and you start like gushing out blood, okay? You're losing fluid, you're losing water, or maybe you're dehydrated. That's a little bit nicer, more realistic of a situation. But your blood pressure drops. The decrease in blood pressure is detected in the juxtaglomerular apparatus, which you'll learn in the urinary system, things like this. So you don't need to know that specifically, but if you see that on a test or a quiz, just know it's associated with blood pressure, and hopefully you can figure it out from there. I just put it there because I saw it, but you won't be quizzed over that most likely. So this is, right here, this is a kidney cell, called nephron. We'll learn about this. But this portion right here is this little like Pac-Man portion. That's right here, except for that's more in detail. And that's where those juxtaglomerular apparatus cells are. This will cause the release of renin, or some instructors say renin. And then renin will stimulate the renin-angiotensin system. And what does the renin, right, blood pressure dropped, right? So what is our goal?
To increase the blood pressure.
Right, so
more water, more
retention.
sodium.
Yeah, but you have to increase the amount of water. And that's done through the renin-angiotensin system. You'll learn more about this in the urinary system, but I put a little chart here that will help. You can see you'll see right here, that's renin. It starts the whole thing, right? And the next hormone that helps with it is angiotensin 2. So renin will change angiotensinogen into angiotensin 1. Angiotensin 1 will be changed into angiotensin 2 by the ACE enzyme. Just know this general knowledge. You'll know more about it later. That's why it's on the side. Angiotensin 2 will then cause secretion of aldosterone. It will cause vasoconstriction and the release of anti-diuretic hormone. All of this to increase the amount of water in your body, right? Because we're going to increase blood pressure. And that's what the result is. Blood pressure will then increase. and we will be back to normal blood pressure. So blood, very, very, very important. The number one priority of the body is your blood. Whatever is happening with your blood affects everything else. So that's why it's so important. So in other words, atrial natriuretic hormone and renin, don't know if you can see that well, and renin, these are like enemies. They're like fighting each other all the time. He's saying, bring it up, and this guy's saying, bring it down. So just kind of know that they're different and they don't like each other. But if you can remember one, then you just need to know the other one is opposite. So that should help. The next one, again, we're dealing with blood. We're looking at, what is this now? Blood sugar, right? So do you guys want to go up or down?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
All right, we can go up because there's a little cupcake there. That looks scrumptious and everything like that. So, oh dear. You have normal blood glucose, and then just say you eat a cupcake, or you eat some cake, or you indulge a little bit, and your blood glucose will spike, which means it'll shoot right up. Yeah, that's what spikes mean. Goes up. Too much sugar in the blood will cause your beta cells in the pancreas to secrete insulin. Okay? So this top one, the release of insulin, that's what happens. Insulin will go to two places. It will go to body cells, and so it will go to body cells and it will go to your liver. So in your body cells, okay? This is your little body cell, right? So when we need energy, I'm going to move this a little bit so you can see. So when we need energy, what do?
Or you break.
Yeah, we're tired and you probably need something like sugar in you right now. But so this is your body cell, okay? Your body cell must eat, okay? And so now we're going to draw glucose. This is in your blood, okay? But glucose can't get into the cell. That's the issue. So we need insulin. Whoop. Oh dear. We need insulin. Insulin is kind of like a key that opens the cell up. So insulin will unlock the cell. And the cell will be able to open up and eat. You know? So that's nice. That's what insulin does. Insulin is like a key. It opens your cells. So if your cells are able to eat, this is normal. They should be eating, right? Your cells are able to eat. You can see the sugar, the glucose, is coming from the blood and going into the cell, right? So what happens to the blood once all the sugar's in the cell?
There's high glucose in the blood.
So,
There's high glucose in the cell because all of it went in, but you mean low glucose. It's all the way into the cell. It's all
A low glucose.
yeah. So your blood glucose level will decrease because it's going where it's supposed to be going. Does that make sense? That's why we need insulin. You know, if insulin's not there, so someone who is what's the issue with
diabetic.
yeah, diabetes. Typically type 1. So type 1 is when you don't produce insulin. Type 1 happens when your immune system attacks your pancreas. So you don't produce any insulin. So you have a bunch of glucose, right? Your sugar will go up, which is bad. Not only that, but your cell, what happens to your cell? What happens to you when you don't eat?
Tired.
You get tired, what else? You get really skinny and starved, right? You just shrivel up. So your body cells,
Don't eat it.
they shrivel up. They're starved. And this is why people with type 1 diabetes look very skinny.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. they look very skinny because their cells are
They're
starving.
They cannot have them.
They can't eat, technically, their cells
Okay.
can't eat. So that's what's with that. People with type 2, so does this, I'll let you guys write that down. Let me know when you are wild.
Okay, I'm still ready.
We're still ready, go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah, tell me when to stop
Oh,
whenever.
you're fine.
Okay, so not only that, you're starving, but you also have high sugar, and if you have too much sugar in your body, the real danger is, the best analogy, best thing I can think of is it makes your veins like, so your veins are really like movably flexible, they're like fun, you know? But when you have like a bunch of sugar in it, high blood sugar, it kind of makes them like, glass, makes them fragile. You know, and that's kind of bad, right? Because I mean, if you have a balloon and you fill it with water, you know, like your veins normally gets full, gets like this. If they're fragile and they're like stiff, like old pipes, you know, and with people, you can have a stroke from having diabetes because
The breakdown.
yeah, exactly. So that's the main issue with diabetes. They also have poor wound healing, and they have low circulation. So that's why you get their feet amputated and everything, because they don't have it, you know? So that's the issue with high sugar. That's a high sugar issue. So type 1 has high sugar and all those other symptoms, but it also has starvation of the cells, you're skinny, okay? And like I said, you can rewatch this. I hope the sound is okay. With type 2, people tend to be overweight. Okay? And type 2 usually happens when you're older. You know, and it is
The receptor.
yeah. So this happens, like, this is something most people can control. You know, this is something like you can have type 2 diabetes and then not have it based on like what you eat and how well you take care of yourself. Type 2 is, it happens based on habit. Type 1 is, you know, your immune system attacks your pancreas, you don't have any insulin.
You don't have choice at all.
Exactly.
Type 2 you do.
Yeah, type 2 is like that. So you have your body cell and your glucose, which is great. And you have, and they do produce insulin. They do normally. And, you know, your cells eat and they eat and they eat and they eat and they eat. So these people are pretty big. But eventually, just a way to think about it, over time, you'll have so much fat development around your cells that the key won't be able to get through because of all the fat. That's just a good way to go about it. It's just type 2 fat people, you know, overweight people, they have fat around their cells. They produce insulin, but insulin
Cannot get in.
it can't get in. Yeah, it has here, it's waiting, it's, you know, so a lot of the time they have the same symptoms of high blood sugar because their cell can't eat, and eventually their cell will starve too, but they get fat first before they get, you know? So they have the danger of high sugar, and their veins turn into like glass or like little pipes, you know, just like that, so. That's the main difference. I know it's a little much, but I hope that...
No, it's will help because you know how and you know why. This is really important.
Yeah, and that will help you know about insulin. It opens the cells up. Your cells need to eat. So that's why you see people with diabetes, you know, skinny and fat, all sorts of shapes and sizes.
I have a question. Like, what's the, like if people grow older, like their lifespan, so the increase relief will decrease, right? So they don't have enough insulin to just like to balance their glucose blood sugar.
Yeah, so like they eat a lot of sugar, they eat a lot of glucose and everything, but they don't have enough insulin to, because you know, when you get old, you stop producing, you're not as active. so your insulin is low, but most people keep eating like they're still young.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, no, you need to eat more fruits, way more fruits and vegetables, lean things, lean, meaty protein, not fatty protein.
Okay.
Well, fats are good too.
Yeah. So even they're not like overweight, like my grandpa, he's like
Yeah.
almost 96, but he's not overweight. But he still have like type 2
Type 2?
diabetes like for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why he had like stroke before. But after he changed, because he always have some rice in the morning, but like that's really bad for himself. Yeah, that's why he changed. He diarrhea. He's fine right now. So.
Okay, well that's good.
Yeah, because my mom said, no, you cannot do that anymore because you're old. He's not very happy. He was not very happy to do that.
Now get older.
Yeah, older. My mom said, I don't eat so much rice in the morning, like you cannot do either. Yeah.
And what does rice turn into?
Yeah, he have like some, he has salad in the morning and like he's better right now, so.
Good, good. Well, the thing is, rice is a carbohydrate, and a carbohydrate turns into sugar.
Sugar,
And
yeah.
sugar, that's the thing with like processed food, is like they have condensed sugar molecules.
Oh, okay.
So it's just like, oh.
Oh, yeah,
Okay. So yeah, I'm sorry, a little bit. So basically, going back to up here, insulin will go to your body cells. It will also go to your liver. It will cause your liver to take up glucose and store it as glycogen. So in your liver, right, so the goal of insulin is to get it out of the blood. Right? Blood is priority. Too much, your blood sugar spikes, you have too much. Now we're going to go look at your liver, which looks like this. So insulin will go to your liver. It will cause the glucose in the blood to go into your liver. Put glucose here, and then it will be stored. So when it's free flowing in the blood, like woo, it's glucose. But when it's in the liver, when it's stored like that,
Glycogen.
yeah, glycogen.
Gotcha.
So it's the same substance, but it's in different forms, like glucose in the blood, glycogen in the liver, because it's stored. So,
Okay. But if we keep adding the glycogen, forward glycogen, it will turn into fat, right? It will turn.
yeah,
Okay.
if you have too much protein, if you have too much sugar, if you have too much of anything,
Everything goes to fat.
it turns into fat, right? Because it's like, okay, this is nice.
Yeah.
I don't have very.
So
I will get more. I will get more.
I have more. Just keep for it.
So I'm always Yeah. But so glycogen can either two pathways of it. It can either be releases glucose later, like just say you haven't eaten for 3 days.
Okay.
The glycogen in your liver is a survival because that will turn to glucose,
And you can use it.
and you can use it.
Okay.
Or if you eat too much, it turns into fat. So let me get that there. See that? Yeah. So glucose and fat.
This is not related to. But like protein can like train fat like
Yeah.
was some enzyme or something.
Yeah, I do not know off the top of my head. But yeah, that is true. Too much protein can turn into fat.
Okay.
Yeah, so glucose, glycogen can turn to fat or glucose. And you'll learn more about this in the digestive and nutrition chapter.
Okay.
But this is just a way to remember it, because I know like it's like, I mean, you probably went through it yourself and like looked it over a couple of times, so you understand it, but being exposed to it again kind of reinforces it.
Yeah.
So that's what insulin does. And then, I need to get this. We're still typing, okay. And then the response is the blood glucose will decrease, right? Because the glucose in your blood will go out of the blood, go into the body cells, or it'll be in the blood and go to the liver. So when it's leaving the blood, it will decrease. Pretty much. What else? So, again, we have pancreas and a liver. normal blood glucose, just say you haven't eaten for a couple of days, haven't eaten for a couple of hours, you feel really like, your blood, just because your blood glucose is dropping. Too little sugar in the blood causes the alpha cells. So the first one was beta cells, but now we're going to alpha cells, because the alpha cells will secrete glucagon. Yeah, glucagon.
Yeah,
I'll remember it.
glucagon,
Yeah. So, and this ties back to what we were saying about the liver, actually. So this is like with insulin, right here. Let's see how far this is. I'm just looking at the video, making sure.
You're totally fine. I understand, like, you
I'm like, I hope it
know the age.
Yeah, okay. So too little sugar in the blood causes the alpha cells in the pancreas to secrete glucagon. Glucagon will go into the liver, and it will cause the liver to break down stored, it's like bricks, like stored. This is glycogen, right? It will cause glucagon hormone, will cause glycogen to release the glucose.
Okay.
And it will go into the blood. So right, you're starving and you need energy. So glucagon will go to your liver and it'll cause you to secrete glucose, which will give you energy, right, when you're starving. And this will cause blood glucose, right, because this is the blood over here. Blood glucose will increase. So there is that. The last one, we're talking about blood calcium. Yeah, this is the last one. Okay, so blood calcium, we're just gonna, since we're going up, we're gonna go up again. So blood calcium elevates, right? You drink some milk. Blood calcium goes from your stomach to your intestines. You'll learn all about it. But basically, you drink some milk, blood calcium elevates, okay? Too much calcium in the blood, right? We want our blood to be normal. We don't want too much, we don't want too little. Too much calcium in the blood causes the thyroid gland, the gland up here is like a bow tie kind of, causes the thyroid to secrete calcitonin. Calcitonin will be released over here. Calcitonin tells osteoblast cells in the bone to deposit calcium. So, to break it down, osteoblast. If you ever hear the word blast, think about build. Blasts, B-U-I-L-D, sorry. Blasts build bone. So as you can see in the picture, I put a hammer. If you're taking calcium, so here's your blood. Let's just do that. This is calcium, right? There's too much calcium in the blood. We gotta put it in the bone. So it'll go into the bone and it will target osteoblasts. Osteo means bone, blast means build. So, and the word deposit, yeah, deposit means like, you know like what a pothole is in a road? A deposit is like when you fill it in. Yeah, so that's what the word deposit means.
Yeah, like money deposit.
Yeah, you're filling stuff in.
Yeah.
So. Or like a cavity deposit, like money deposit, yeah, that makes more sense. I just think in terms.
No, I just like the first hit me in my head.
Yeah, no, that's good, making connections, building those synapses between your neurons.
That's better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
For memory.
yeah, you got a good one, that's for sure. And it's helpful when you make those connections and you don't forget them later. So your blood calcium, since it's leaving the blood going to the bone, blood calcium will decrease. And it will be normal, you will be happy. We will be happy.
You will.
We will be happy. You don't have a choice in this. So, as you can see now, this bone has potholes in it, or has pores in it, so. That's osteoblast. This next one, you have more blood calcium, but just say calcium in the blood now drops. It decreases, right? Because we're not eating enough. I think it's kale. Kale has calcium in it, I think, or spinach. Something does. Anyway, no, you're not eating enough spinach products. So your blood calcium will drop. Too little calcium in the blood causes the parathyroid glands, which are on your thyroid, to secrete parathyroid hormone. So, let's see, you have osteoclast. So osteo being bone, and class, we'll get to that. So parathyroid hormone, you got a little shovel here. So you do not have any calcium in your blood, so you got to get it from somewhere. And the only place, oh, that's the interesting one. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Whoever has this is like dead. But you have a bunch of calcium in your bone. And osteoclast, clast means carb, right? Carb.
See you, Verasha. Thanks a lot.
Yep, take care. So to carve it out means to take it out of the bone. So it will, calcium will then leave the bone and go into the blood, because blood is the priority. And that will cause blood calcium to increase because it's needed. So, class, yeah, that's like osteo means bone, class means carb. Put a shovel up there. Another thing too, this is why if you don't drink a lot of calcium, you get osteoporosis, because you start getting holes, because it's just taking the calcium out. You know, it's trying to put it into the blood. So.
Because the neurotransmission is the most important, so we
Yeah.
have to just say, hey, blood is not important,
Yeah. So that's that. Do you have any question on this? Does it make more sense?
It is.
Okay. Good. Well, I'm gonna turn this off.